Well, hello, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Live at the Waterhole. My name is Amy, and I am with you today for the show, and I'm so excited to be back with you all. We are starting off at the beautiful Tau Game Lodge here at Madikwe Game Reserve, and watching a croc that seemed to be quite interested in a wildebeest, but I don't think any moves were made at this point. But exciting anticipation for sure. Now remember everyone that this is a live and interactive show, so please do make sure that you send through your comments and questions to me. I would love to hear from you. Let me know who you are, where you're watching from, what you're looking forward to about the show, what you enjoy about it, and as we go along, if you do have any questions or comments for me, you can send them through on the Wild Earth website or the app. You can also join the conversation on X using the hashtag Wild Earth, or you can chat to us in the YouTube chat stream. Just remember to use @FC if you'd like those comments and questions to come directly to me. Looks like this croc is slightly coming out the water there. Not sure what its plan is, but so well camouflaged. You can see even the texture of its scales blending into that sort of rough, muddy area. Fuzzy Dunlop, lovely to hear from you. Yes, happy Thirsty Thursday. Well, I think many of the animals out here, luckily there is water, so hopefully they're not too thirsty. But I know water at the end of the dry season definitely lends itself to many animals desiring it. Wesley, that's a great question. You want to know if he'll choose a specific spot to hunt? Yes, I think so. I think crocs will generally choose a spot that they can remain quite inconspicuous and hidden, but also have an easy way to lunge out if they're looking to grab something that's on land. They are extremely opportunistic. They have this natural killer instinct in them, and I learned pretty early on when learning more about the bush, it's the one animal out here that doesn't really distinguish us as humans in terms of being on 2 feet and generally not viewing them then as prey. You know, other animals like lions or leopards or any other predator can see that we're different from the other animals out here, whereas a croc doesn't care. They just grab whatever is available to them. So I think it's trying to dig itself a little bit deeper in, hide itself away so the likes of something like that waterbuck or zebra comes too close. But I think that those animals are actually further than what we think they are as well. And ideally you would want a little bit of more of a ledge, I suppose, for the croc to be able to hide better. But Westie, it definitely comes down to particular spots that they know they've maybe been successful before in the past, where the water's deeper. All of those sort of things come together for a croc to choose where it's going to be. It did look like both the waterbuck and the zebra spotted him there. They were approaching and they sort of gave the side eye and moved on. And actually last week in Pufuri, it was incredible to see the dynamics between crocs and animals coming to drink at the river. And it was very close for a warthog that was at the river drinking, and this massive crocodile, at least 4 meters long, was checking it out and would disappear and come up and was right there next to the edge of the bank and just waiting for this warthog to come into reach. And it's something you see on film or other people's videos, but you never think that you would actually see something like that. So we didn't see it happen, but it was very close. And we had heard from some of the staff at the lodge that that week alone 4 baboons and warthogs had been taken by crocs in the Liverpool River, because the water level's quite low and the animals have to come quite far in. There's also lovely green grass around, which is attracting things like warthogs and baboons to sort of the little islands that the river has made. So this time of year, all that sort of action begins to take place, where more animals are drawn to sources of water. Oh, lovely. Let's head over to Juma, where there is a woodpecker. Oh, this is fantastic. I know that we've had a few around that have been resident, have been nesting as well. And this is a beautiful view of a woodpecker. Oh my goodness. It flew away. Oh, there it is, still there. It is still there. That looks like a female Bennett's woodpecker, and it's got these sort of a rusty brown colored cheek markings, and also that front part of the head being black with the little white spots, and also very distinctive dots all over its chest and the underside of its body. The male Bennett's is completely red in the forehead as well, very bright red on the cheeks, and a much whiter face. I find they very the males are almost very clean looking in comparison to some of the other woodpecker species that we see. How beautiful. Oh man. And look how it uses those back tail feathers, which is fascinating. It's how they're able to perch themselves or balance themselves, be stable on the sides of trees like we saw. At the end of that tail actually has 2 spikes that help dig into the bark. And together with its very specific foot structure, it helps stabilize it so that it can peck on the side of trees, as well as create nests and look for food. Yeah, Rusek, they are beautiful markings, aren't they? And especially with that camera and the way that we could be so close to that specific bird, that was really, really beautiful. Rosie, thank you for saying hi. It's wonderful to be back on the show as well. I'm really enjoying it. And you say you're watching on your big screen telly. That must be amazing. You can't chat because you are very busy, but at least it's on in the background. And thanks for choosing to have us as part of your day today. I can't believe how little water is left here. I mean, I was last at Juma maybe 2 weeks ago now, and that sort of far side still had a little bit of a pool of water, which now just looks to be mud. So we highly anticipate the rains that are due any day now. We're just waiting to see when that weather forecast shows the rains that are meant to come. Right, well, that was a wonderful little treat to see a close-up of that woodpecker. Let's head up to Kenya and see what's happening at Oldonyo. Sorry about that, everyone. We lost the feed, but we will try and get back there as soon as we can. You can see it's quite busy at the moment. We're back at Tau, though, where there are, there's some warthogs that seem to be having a good time here, as well as some waterbuck. Brazen Hearted, hello. Good to hear from you again today. You are from Texas in the United States, and you want to know what I'm doing with my days besides these waterhole episodes. So Brazen Hearted, because I do go for a few weeks at a time to Juma, or one of the locations, to do drives, I take these times between those periods as a little bit of a break, just to spend at home, see to things admin wise that I need to do, also just do things at the house that I don't get around to doing because I'm away, and just enjoy being in my home basically for a little bit of time. And then of course the waterhole show also keeps me busy in the days, but I do also have a little bit of a rest and do things that I enjoy doing before I head off on another stint, which is coming up in 10 days today actually. So yes, sometimes I help with some training, which I can do as well from home, which is lovely, and for field guides. And yes, I keep myself busy with all of those sorts of things. But I also take the time, just like when someone works a cycle In this industry, you sort of have a week or two off in between. I do also enjoy that, because when we're on site and when we're doing drives, it is a all-consuming job, and it takes a lot of energy, and of course it's the best job in the world, but it does require a lot from a person. So it is nice to just be able to come home and for a week or two have a little bit of a rest, see family, maybe go on a little holiday, and then get back into the swing of things after that. There's a white-faced whistling duck there as well. You can always notice them by that very white face, of course. There we go. And they're usually in little groups, so I'm sure some others won't be too far away. And named after their call, they have a beautiful whistling call. You usually hear it actually when they're flying, but they can definitely do it on the ground as well. Oh, wonderful. Let's head over to Hyena Pan and have a look at some ellies that are on their way for a drink. Oh, wow. Elephant pool party indeed. This is fantastic. A few little ones in between as well. I think it was it the day before, or was it yesterday? We had the cutest little fluffy elephant. I think it was here at Hyena Pan, actually, right there at the trough. Almost exactly where that one is now, that little one. But it literally was the fluffiest. Oh, there is a tiny little one coming in on the left-hand side with mom. Oh, baby elephants are just the best. I feel like those two were chased away. That wasn't very friendly. They're just doing a loop around, it looks like. Yeah, here they come back. That same mom and baby. The littlest little one. Hopefully they'll get a chance to drink now. It's going in for a bit of a suckle there. is it playing with that little stick? Oh, that was very cute. Alright, we are going to head back over to Tal, but hopefully we'll be back here shortly. Hopefully we get some elephants coming down here as well for a drink. I know that Madikwe is full of ellies and we often do see them around. I must say in the last 2 days, this is now the 3rd day that I've been doing the show, and I think we did have a herd of elephants coming yesterday afternoon quite late into the show. It also all is about the time of the day, and sometimes, like, depending on the animals, get into a little bit of a routine in different times of the year, and you sort of have the elephants, okay, they'll come at 10 o'clock or they'll come at 2 o'clock, or you can't really pin it down to an exact science, but often particularly in the winter time, you sort of know when they're going to arrive for a drink. Sammy V, I'm not sure if those animals, the waterbuck and the zebra at least, came to specifically inspect the croc itself. I think that they were interested in the water. They wanted to come for a drink, and as they walked up close, then they saw it and moved in the opposite direction away from it to find another place to drink that didn't have a crocodile right there. So I don't think they specifically came to investigate, but rather saw it on their way to the water and then moved to a different spot. We saw that zebra then drinking a little bit further to the right hand side of that crocodile. But sometimes animals are curious, and they will sort of look and try and figure out what it is, or if it's a threat or not. And as soon as they realize, often these prey animals will just then flee, or they'll freeze, fright or flight, as it were. But that's sort of the response that we see in them. Yeah, Desmond, this is pretty much the perfect spot for crocs. Specifically on Madikwe, we know that this is really where we see them the most, in this waterhole. And they do, they don't mind. They like sort of stiller waters, where they won't be swept down with the current. And also, this sort of very muddy water means that they can camouflage really well. But it also means that, of course, their eyesight is affected, in terms of being able to spot prey or something like that. So it works both ways. But these murky waters are definitely not ones that you want to be walking through knowing that there are crocs around. Mercedes, thank you so much. It's wonderful to hear from you, and lovely to have you on with the show today. This waterbuck bull here on the left has a beautiful pair of horns, doesn't he? One of the bigger ones in this group. Quentin, it's an interesting one to think about. We, when elephants do arrive, we don't see crocs scatter everywhere. Somehow they just sort of keep a low profile. I mean, a big elephant bull's not going to be intimidated by a crocodile there at the edge of the water, especially that one. It wasn't humongous from what I can tell size-wise. But I think, honestly, the way, knowing the elephants and the way that they can be quite sensitive, if they spotted a croc or something, they would simply just move to another side of the waterhole. Because even though there's not really any danger for a grown elephant with a crocodile, it's still just that sense of comfort. And the croc might move, it may not. I actually haven't seen a clear encounter in that way to observe that behavior myself. So, Quentin, it would only be based off of understanding a little bit about each animal and how they would normally behave in certain circumstances. But I think either way, I think there might be a time where the crocodile would move, there might be a time where it won't move, and the elephant would rather pick a different area. I wonder why those animals moved there. Maybe there was some movement from the rooms that they decided to move off there. You can see they've all relaxed again. Maybe someone opened a door or something like that. Oh, there's a pig in mud. Such an appropriate saying, isn't it? They just are so happy when they are in a mud wallow. Look how they're enjoying themselves now. Oh, that younger waterbuck bull in the back's just doing a flaming grimace. Look at his mouth. Looks a little bit funny. Holding up his top lip. I think that waterbuck female may have urinated there. Or even defecated. And he was giving a good sniff. Trying to get in those chemical markers over the organ that's in the roof of their mouth, called the organ of Jacobson. Interpret where this female is in its estrus cycle, what's happening with her. Oh, Keenan, you say wallowing warties make my day. Aren't they just the cutest? Look at them. Oh, Ryan, interesting. You want to know if this behavior is for bonding purposes. So I think you're referring to the warthog's mud wallowing. If you're referring to the waterbuck flaming grimacing, I'll chat about that just now. But just referring to the warthogs, no, it's not really for bonding purposes, although sometimes they do it in a group because they are a little family already. And somewhat of a social animal in that regard. But it's actually, the mud wallowing is all about temperature control, thermoregulation of their body, and that's to help cool them down basically. And also it helps suffocate any ticks that might be on their body, parasites and things like that that bother them. And you'll often find after they've had a good mud wallow, they'll find a nice rubbing post and go and rub against it in all of the itchy spots that they may have. And I've once actually seen in probably a day or two old rubbing from, I think it was a buffalo. There were actually ticks in the piece of sort of cracked off bit of mud that came off its skin, a tick that had died in there. So that is why they do it. With regards to the Fleming grimace, that is not really for bonding, but mammals do that. Well, not only mammals, but specifically in this regard, the water bugs do it. The males generally do it when a female has urinated, or even going to sniff underneath her tail to pick up chemical indicators called pheromones, and that helps them determine if she's basically ready to mate with or not, or where she is in her cycle, so that you can anticipate that for future. But I suppose in some ways it does bond them, even if it is temporarily. I think it's also an instinctual thing to find out that information. Oh, wonderful. Okay, we're going to head over to Tembe, where there are some elephants. You can see this group of elephants are enjoying some shade here today. They often like this spot to do some dust bathing with the sand there. Another big Ellie arriving there now. Wow, look at his tusks. Oh, and reaching up. That's fantastic. Beautiful. Yuri, I completely agree. I think this is also Ellie paradise. It just looks like the ultimate place for elephants, with this beautiful waterhole, the big trees, lots of green grass around. It's fading now, of course, being the end of the dry season, but soon there'll be rain coming through again. There's even some green patches I can see starting to come through. And this place is paradise, including paradise for the birds, which is so amazing. Some of the birding that's done up in northern KwaZulu-Natal here, where this location is. Oh, Ryan, interesting question once again. Thank you for sending that through. You want to know if there's a hierarchy for who gets shade. Ryan, not that I'm aware of, to be honest with you, but I do think that if there's very limited shade and there's the biggest elephant is there, he will have no problem to also push out some of the smaller ones if he wants that to happen. I actually haven't seen that personally. I haven't observed that behavior. But it's very possible that they won't necessarily fight, but one may throw its weight around to ensure that it gets to stand in the shade. But these animals are also, sometimes I don't understand. I mean, I saw buffalo last week older buffalo bull in the river. It was hot, like 36 degrees Celsius, and there was plenty of shade on the riverbanks. But no, he wanted to sit on the sand in the sun, and that was his choice. So even though we see sometimes these animals are in the sun, sometimes it's by choice, even if there is shade available. Looks like they're walking down towards the water now, which will be lovely. This boy has beautiful tusks, doesn't he? Candace, yeah. I'm sure it does boost the confidence having such nice tusks. Pity there's no mirror for him to admire himself in. Ah, there are some other white-faced whistling ducks that are in a little group. Melinda, you want to know what other whistling ducks do you get? So in southern Africa, the other species of whistling duck is called the fulvous whistling duck. Now that one's a little bit rarer to see, very sort of limited distribution. Part of their distribution though is in northern KwaZulu-Natal, so you never know if we'd be able to spot one here. But it's also more sort of towards the central eastern part of South Africa really, and then they also are distributed into northern Botswana, and at Vic Falls would be another location that we could see the fulvous whistling duck. This is one spot that I personally would love to visit. not only for the elephants, but also just for the scenery. It looks like such a peaceful place. And like we were saying earlier, Yuri, it is paradise. And I think in the summer it must be absolutely buzzing with life. Rosie, so no. The one thing that is different with elephants in comparison to the other animals that we see, like giraffes and buffalo, is that they don't have oxpeckers on them. I think there's been the odd record and photo that you can find out there when an oxpecker has managed to land on an elephant, but they just don't tolerate them. So it's a very rare thing, and it's not something that I personally have ever seen. I've seen a fork-tailed drongo get pretty close to landing on an ellie, but they simply kick up too much of a fuss. And I think their skin is actually a lot more sensitive than what we realize. And they also, they just don't enjoy that feeling, I suppose. And also maybe it just irritates them a lot to have the birds perched on them. So we don't see oxpeckers on elephants like we do with other animals out here. Oh, exciting. Let's head up to Namibia and see what's happened at Anguma. Oh, lovely. Apparently, it has been raining here, everybody, which is wonderful news. And now there is a big ellie bull that's come down. Well, I would say a drink, but it looks like he's relaxing at the moment. You can actually see that this elephant has had rain on him rather than splashing, but just the pattern of the water and how it sort of hit the top bit of his body and sort of soaked down. But there's patches there on his lower belly and around the front of his face that weren't wet. Elephants here just look so big. They have shorter tusks, but their body size just seems to be massive. Stacy, yeah, I think it is to a degree a reality for these elephant bulls that their life does become quite lonely once they mature and have to leave the herd. It is why often we do see bachelor herds forming and younger bulls wanting to associate with older ones, learn from them, but also just because they've been a social animal for so long with their family group that it's difficult, I think, for them. Or let me not say difficult like we would find it difficult, but it is something different that they're not used to. And so they find comfort, I suppose, and familiarity in associating with other males. But for a male like this, looks quite mature already. He has embraced his solitary life and seems to be enjoying it. And I think, as an animal, it doesn't know any better. This is what its life is, and it lives every day and does its thing. And every now and again, it does have a social aspect to it. But in a lifespan of 60 to 70 years, that might only be short periods throughout each year where they may associate again with a herd or other males. Bevan, exactly. I couldn't agree more. It is a wonderful moment to take a second to relax and reflect. Okay, apparently there is another bull in the area, which makes sense. Like I say, they do sometimes hang around in groups of 1, 2, 10 males, sometimes all together. Well, isn't that just fantastic? I love when these big elephants fall over. He looks so comfy there now. Jasmine, I completely agree with you. I mean, this elephant right now is looking like a big puppy in the water, just collapsed and is like, oh, this is me for the day, loving life. Oh, Ritz, it is beautiful, isn't it? Popping up some bubbles every now and again. And it just is so calm. I love it. Well, there we go, Sean. You can see that he's not going to get stuck like that. Very much able to get up if need be. And Mindy, yes, it must feel amazing to have the weight off of those 4 legs, even for just a little while. And this elephant was definitely channeling its inner hippo there, Penelope. I completely agree with you. It was giving us some serious hippo vibes. Mindy, yes, it is one happy looking pachyderm. And for those of you who may not know, pachyderm is basically referring to any thick-skinned animal, literally pachy meaning, or pachus from the Greek meaning thick, and derm meaning skin. So thick-skinned animal. And usually out here we refer to elephants, rhinoceros, and hippopotamus as being pachyderms. Oh, wonderful. I was hoping that would happen. Let's head over to Tau, where some elephants are on their way. Beautiful, beautiful scene here as these warthogs are munching away and an elephant is on its way. Ryan, you want to know if the shorter tusks are basically based on genetics or environmental adaptations. So generally it comes down to genetics, and specifically there where we were in Etosha, those males are known to be very big in size but have shorter tusks. They're quite thick but they're short. I mean, this is a younger bull that we're looking at here. He hasn't quite grown out his tusks. We don't know how big they're going to get just yet, but yeah, it is most certainly based off of genetics, and it is a sad thing to think about that some of the best tusk genes were poached out of the natural world in the 20th century when ivory became such a highly demanded product, and so many elephants were poached for their ivory. But fortunately, it's not all tragic. There are still bulls out there with some beautiful tusks. I think of the elephant bull that has graced us with his presence on Djuma, called Mashangan, and that's one of the biggest elephant tusk I've seen in the Sabi Sands ever. But they are still in Kruger. I don't know about Madikwe, if there's any individuals around here, but I know up in East Africa we often see some around Oldonyo as well. Oh, Desmond, absolutely. Me too. They just are never in a rush. And it's the privilege, I think, of being the biggest mammal out here. I mean, other animals are also pretty on their own time, but the only time I really see an elephant move quickly is when it's coming down to the water, especially a herd of elephants. They get quite excited, or if they have to chase lions away or something like that. Grace, hello, lovely to hear from you. You want to know if lions can pose a threat to such a big animal. So, Grace, if we think of an elephant that's fully mature, I mean, this bull still has a way to go growth wise, but he is still rather large. So, I would say no, lions wouldn't really be a threat to him. But there are parts of Africa, including in South Africa, where elephants can hunt elephants. Sorry, when lions can hunt elephants successfully. And it's often not really a full adult elephant. Sometimes it's a younger one, sometimes it's a teenager, and they can do it. So they can definitely be a threat to elephants. But generally, no. The size prey that lions are looking at, the biggest size would be something like a giraffe. And then followed closely by the much more regular thing that they kill, which is buffalo. So elephants don't really have too much to worry about, but they do still see them as a threat. It is a predator and they are prey. So their instinct when it comes to lions, very often, not always, as I have learnt over the years, is to chase them off. And we actually had that the other day when I had a group of about 5 lions on Juma, and this elephant shocked me, came in from behind trumpeting. It picked up either their scent possibly, but most likely maybe even saw them, and came right next to us and chased them off. But there's other times where I've seen elephants walk by with the lions looking at them and not react. So, you never quite know exactly what they're going to do, but in general, they don't like to have predators close to them. Also, just to add there, Grace, that a big part of a lion's success in being able to hunt something, even like a medium-sized elephant, is down to the size of the pride. One of the biggest strengths that lions have is that they are part of a group, and that means that the more of them there are, the easier it is to take down something a lot bigger. And that also plays to their ability as to whether they are a real threat to something like an elephant or not. Alright, well, we're going to head back to Onguma, where another elephant has joined our hippo channeling Ellie. Ah, now there's two of them. This is awesome. I cannot tell you how much I love when two elephants are together like this, big boys as well, and they're just channeling their inner playfulness a little bit. And it's wonderful to know that the water's deep enough to have these Ellies be able to still do this. Alright, we're going to see if we can sort out this feed, but for now let's head over to Tembi. are some yellow-billed storks there now, a jacana in the background, and the white-faced whistling ducks. Jasmine, you were commenting about the 2 elephants at Onguma, and this makes your heart happy. Oh, I say that all the time, actually, when I see certain animals and certain scenarios. I'm like, oh, this makes my heart happy. So I completely understand what you mean, Jasmine. Ian, it's an interesting thing to think about with elephants in terms of forming, lifelong friendships. Do we refer to them as friendships? Do we refer to them as associations? But there's definitely a sense of familiarity, especially with a group of bulls here at Tenby. They live in the same reserve, potentially their whole life. We often see a group, I don't know if it's the same one here at Tenby, when we do come here, and there's definitely a familiarity and relationship between the individuals. Now, whether that is friendly or not, I think for the most part it is, but there is also not always tension, but it can build up to tension in terms of determining a bit of hierarchical structure within the group. And generally, we see younger ones tussling, hitting their tusks together every now and again, but it doesn't look too serious. And then on the rare occasion you get a serious interaction, and then I wouldn't be referring to them as friends at all. But I think they do enjoy having the association of individuals for the duration of their life, if they choose to stay with them. I do know sometimes you have individuals that go off and do their thing and they come back together again, so it's very fluid in that way. Ah, Wesley, that's actually a great question in terms of asking if there's any animals with designated toilets. So, for the most part, animals will, you know, poop and urinate wherever they want to, specifically referring to elephants as well. But there are a few species that do have areas where they will defecate over and over again. Um, they do that, but then they can also poop randomly wherever. But I can think of animals like hyenas. Sometimes we refer to it as being latrine, civets as well. Middens for rhinos, where they will go to defecate repeatedly in certain spots. And even impalas sometimes form little middens. We can see the pellets build up in one spot over and over and over again. So it's interesting. You do get some animals that will make use of a particular toilet site, but it's not to say it's very strict. Sometimes then they will also, poop wherever. But yeah, wildebeest as well. The males sometimes form middens where they'll defecate repeatedly, and it's often associated with territorial animals, sort of a marking of where their scent can be found and build up over time. So yes, I suppose in that way there are animals with particular designated toilets. There's also a woolly neck stalk that is moving back and forth all the time there. It's just popping out in front of those elephants. But it's lovely to see the bird life returning here quite abundantly already at Tembe. Always had a black-winged stilt that's busy there now. That was new. And I mean, just look how beautiful that is with that elephant walking across with the water in the background. Oh, Ryan, interesting. You want to know if the storks are relying on the ellies to flush out prey. I don't think so in that particular instance, especially the ones that are more eating aquatic animals. But there are birds that do rely on the elephants to flush out the prey. We can think of more insect eating birds, such as drongos or starlings. We can also think of something like cattle egrets that also tend to follow mammals around as they walk through the grass. But with that woolly neck stork, it eats quite a varied diet, including larger insects as well. So perhaps it was seeing around there, but it wasn't really following the elephants like we see with some of the other birds. All right, been wonderful here at Tembe. Let's head over to Founders where there is a rhino. Well, how beautiful is this? What a treat. I love this location so much. Ah, that's a good rock. I think I've seen many rhinos use it as a bit of a scratching post. And now a beautiful zebra as well. We were chatting about them yesterday actually, and how the colors here just contrast so beautifully with the color of the ground and the sky. Yes, Yuri, absolutely. This point of view of this camera is so awesome. Really sort of at foot level with these animals. And today it looks a lot more hazy out there around the hills, whereas yesterday was a lot clearer. Interesting how things change one day to the next. It may be that there's a fire somewhere. It's one of these dangerous times of the year with regards to fires, and one has to be so careful. Make sure that if you do light a fire, that you put it out with water before you go to bed. Okay, well, now that they have moved off, let's head back over to Tau. Well, all is quite calm here. There's an elephant there, some zebras around as well, and the warthogs. We're going to have a little scan around, see if there's anything else of interest. I do feel like that bit of tree was dragged from the tree that we'll get to shortly, because as far as I know, there wasn't a tree growing there yesterday. These elephants change so much, and quite quickly actually, if they put their minds to it. It's also wonderful to just be quiet and listen and watch these animals doing their thing out here. I mean, there's a warthog having the best time at the moment there, wallowing away. So happy. Simon, I am not controlling the camera. So sometimes it is the director of the show, who is Jared today, but most of the time it's actually who we call Zoomies, who are stationed all over the world and assist us with being able to move around the cameras and look for interesting things. And we're very, very grateful to them. A shout out to all the Zoomies for Wild Earth. We appreciate you all so much, and they do us a great service by doing that job for us during the show, and also for the dam cam as well. I think that warthog's now just about covered every inch of its skin, barring the front of its face between its tusks and eyes. These two are looking very chilled out at the moment, but you can see the size difference between the one on the left and the one on the right, and just how much bigger and more mature the elephant on the left is. I mean, size wise, he's standing about a head taller, and he's just got a bigger head as well, bigger tusks, thicker tusks. Also you can see around the behind the eye there, sort of their temple area. It's quite sunken in, quite pronounced forehead as well. So all those factors, you can clearly see the one on the left is a lot older than the one on the right. happen. So yes, actually I can say that they will help an animal in the mud, because that situation happened here a little while ago with a baby zebra that got stuck in the mud, and the team at Madikwe came to help it. And it was a beautiful story and a very happy ending when it was reunited with its mom that was quite frantic about its little one that was stuck. So yes, each reserve will have its own policies regarding that, but I would find it very difficult to not intervene in that scenario when an animal is sort of desperate like that, especially a baby. Oh, Ryan, that is a fantastic question. Have I ever seen interspecies conflict between antelopes? I'm trying to think for you now, Ryan, if there's a specific instance when I've seen antelopes of different species have direct conflict. I don't think I have seen it. Not to say that it's not possible, but I haven't seen, let's say, a kudu and a nyala fighting, males specifically now, hitting horns. I haven't seen an eland and a gemsbok, for example. They often overlap in their habitat distributions. So I'll have to check for you, Ryan. I'm on the show again tomorrow, the last one for this week. So that is something fascinating. I'll have to see if there are any recorded instances where antelopes of different species have actually had a serious fight. I think there may be little, clashes when there are conflict over resources, but they wouldn't be fighting for mating rights, which is the main reason that these animals get into conflict with one another, specifically for the males. So I know that sometimes limited resources can bring about very strange behavior, specifically in serious seasons of drought, for example, and animals going head to head with each other for the last puddle of water. That actually reminds me of very long time ago, I think it was 1995, where it was filmed in the Luvuvu River, the last feast of the crocodiles. Some old school film that was made, and it's fascinating. It was a time of drought. I think that was the last time that the Luvuvu River actually stopped flowing, and you just had this crazy animal behavior because there was such a little bit of water left, and you had nyalas fighting with baboons to get to the water, so it's fascinating stuff. And I think that would maybe be the time where you would see interspecies conflict between antelopes, perhaps. Third Ellie's coming to join the party, and these two are snacking on these pieces that must have been broken off through the night, or maybe this morning or yesterday after the show. I don't remember them being there. They also are very green. I think they were taken from that, I'll call it the weaver tree, that we often see the weavers. Ian and Rachel, well, there you go. Friendships are formed by sharing food. Isn't that true? Sharing a meal with someone helps us connect for sure. And maybe it is the same for elephants. I think this smaller one, it might be coming for a drink. You can see the croc is lying quite far out the water as well there on the left hand side. It's also interesting to notice how this one is a slightly different shade in color compared to the other ellies, and that's just, I'm sure, from some dust bathing it's been doing, or lack of mud on its skin. Oh, Ollie, you and I thinking the same way. But yes, it often is the sand or color of the dirt that they throw on themselves that changes the coloration of the appearance of their skin. But then also it's the water or the mud. So you'll see this elephant, now that it's starting to splash itself, will depending how much it splashes itself with mud, it will also change color to a much more gray hue. Penelope, it is such a pleasure. We have had a wonderful, relaxing time here at the Waterhole Show. I agree. So thank you so much to all of you for joining me today. I look forward to being back with you right here, same time tomorrow, 12:30 Central African time, for another Waterhole Show where we see what the bush brings us. And yes, later on this afternoon, the Sunset Safari will be live once again at 4 p.m. So make sure that you stay tuned for that. But to all of you who sent through comments and questions today, we really do appreciate it, as always. And we had some wonderful conversations and chats about all sorts of things, which was great. And like I said, I will be back with you tomorrow. So I wish you all a pleasant day or evening ahead, depending where you are in the world. So from us for now, it's goodbye.